Thank you very much, my beloved viewer. We are still discuss with Father Dave. How are you, Father Dave?
Great to be with you, brother. Thank you.
Father Dave, very interesting in our past our discussion about the Palestinian issue. We know that this atrocity now nowadays and this war lead to the uncertainty. But this time, I want to ask you more, maybe more theoretically, yeah, because I know that you wrote many books, I think, and I want you to talk about your book, yeah, of course related to this issue. What is the
Well,
what is the interesting book that you want to offer in this discussion?
I'll show you my book here because it's we say it there, Christians
Chris,
and Muslims can be friends.
yeah.
With the picture there with the Dr.
What is
Ahmad in the film.
okay? Tell me about this book.
Yeah.
What is the idea of your book?
The idea of the book is very simple to say that every religion in today's world has two dimensions to it. It has a doctrinal side, what we believe, and it has a tribal side, where we belong, who my people are.
Mm,
So it's what I think and who I am. And no one goes to war over what they believe. Not because you have different beliefs about God than I have. That's not going to start a fight. What starts the fight is that your tribe think they're better than my tribe, and your tribe took my land, and your tribe killed my sister, and this sort of thing. So it's tribalism. And
mm,
religion has always been a fundamental tribal identifier. I mean,
mm,
ethnicity is also a very key tribal, or skin color. There's all sorts of things we can use to identify our tribe. But
mm,
religion has been one that has not only been natural at a community level, but has been one that's been manipulated by politicians over the centuries. And I think the current one is a case in point. That we need to separate the genuine religious issues from the political and tribal issues.
mm,
I have many Jewish friends who feel that attachment to their tribe, and that the tribe and the government of Israel will say, we speak for all Jews. Well, how can they speak for a whole tribe
mm,
of people? They don't. They have their own, but they're politicians.
mm,
They speak for their party and for their position. And this is the problem, is we confuse the two. So I think, if we can keep them separate to an extent, my understanding of the Christian faith is that, I have my beliefs, and
mm,
my beliefs may be very different from yours in many ways. But in terms of my tribe, who I identify with, I'm as comfortable here in the local Shia Muslim community as I am in the Anglican Christian community. You know what I mean? Like, in terms of identifying with a particular tribe of people, I think we've got to get past that. And if we can get past that, then we can get past the violence as well, I think.
mm.
So um, I think this situation at the moment, the between Israel and Palestine, gives us an opportunity to come together.
Okay,
Because
Father Dave, before we come to Palestine issue, are you trying to say that the tribalism is like immanent and the religion is like a sacred thing? Is it because you are talking about the doctrine? Doctrine is come from God, but after God sent the religion to the human being, so the human being expressed with the like a tribe. So it's look like a anthropological issue. Do you think so?
yeah, it's a question of identity. It's we all need to identify who our people are. We need community. We're made to be communal people, and we identify our community by uh, people who look like us, people who sound like us, people who dress like us, people who believe the same things we do. So religion becomes a natural point of tribal identity. My conviction is that in the teachings of Jesus, that he pushed us very hard to move beyond tribal identity. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the parable in the gospel, in the
Mm,
Injil, about the Good Samaritan. There's
mm,
a story Jesus tells about a man who's beaten up and left unconscious and naked by the side of the road. And these various religious people, Jews, come by and they walk away from him, don't touch him. And then the Samaritan, who's a foreigner from the wrong religion, he picks the man up and helps him. Now, the point, I think, is that the man's naked and unconscious. You can't tell whether he's Jewish or Roman or Greek or Samaritan or anything, you see? Because how do we tell how people are? We tell by the way they speak and by the way they dress. And this guy, you say he's beaten up, he's naked, he's unconscious, he can't speak, you can't tell how he's dressed, you don't know if he's Jewish or Roman or Greek or whatever. And then this foreigner comes by, he helps the man, you see? And Jesus says, go and do likewise. So I think the point is, this is how we tell someone's one of us or one of them. You know, if someone comes up, they're wearing a hijab, or you're one of them. You know, you come up, say, good day, mate, oh, you're one of us. You know, it's how you speak, it's how you dress. And in this case, the person is undressed and they can't speak. How do we know if he's one of us or one of them? Because if he's one of them, he's not my problem. And Jesus gives the example of the foreigner who comes along. He just sees the man as a human being in need and will love him and help him because he's a brother in humanity. You know, and I remember Imam Ali saying the same thing, is that either you're my brother in faith or my equal in humanity. You know what I mean? I think it was very, very wise. There's strands, teachings within both Islam and Christianity, and I'm sure Judaism as well, that in the end, it's fundamental to the idea of monotheism, one God. If there's one God, then we're all sisters and brothers, ultimately. You know, and if we can get to this point of breaking down the tribal identities between us and them and just recognize that in the end it's just us, then we'll come a long way towards solving so many of the world's problems. And certainly religion will not be able to be used as a tool of tribal division.
Okay, Father Dave, very interesting about the identity and religion, actually. There are three religions at least, monotheism, Muslim, Christian, and Jewish. And three religions now, become trouble for the world because this Palestine issue not resolved, at least until now not resolved. And because of the very complicated situation, very, complicated interrelation between the religion, politics, and also the colonialism. Okay, let's talk about colonialism, Father Dave. We know that for 200 or 300 years, British is the king of colonialism. And after that, inherited to the United States and also France, of course. So three states, France, United, and British now is a mastermind of the colonialism in Middle East. They are still maintaining the colonialism in the heart of Muslim world.
I mean, the French had their role in Morocco, and there are others as well.
You, Father Dave, you are Christian, and I also all of President of United States Christian. What's wrong with that?
What's wrong with?
What is the difference between your Christianity and Mr. Biden Christianity? What's wrong with that?
Which Christianity?
Okay, Mr. Biden, Christian. Okay.
Oh, Biden.
Biden, Biden is Christian. All of United States. Yes. What does it make different between your Christianity and their Christianity?
Look, I don't want to judge anybody, but my reading of the gospel, I think, is very different to his. I mean, I don't see how anybody who believes in the teachings of Jesus, which is turn the other cheek and to forgive and to refuse to. One of the most fundamental teachings of Jesus was the refusal to be violent. In fact, the Apostle Peter says in his first letter, he says, he did this to leave you an example that you might follow in his footprints. He was abused and he did not abuse in return. He was, mocked and he did not mock. He did not hit back in any way. Now, it's interesting because the example of Jesus' life is almost never used in the Gospels as an example for how we should live. Unlike in Islam, where we try to model on the Prophet Muhammad and his followers, the example of Jesus' life. Jesus had 12 disciples. It doesn't tell us we should have 12 disciples. Jesus never married. That's not a reason for us not to marry. You know what I mean? But at this one point, the New Testament writers are insistent that this was the example Jesus left to follow, that he was hurt and he did not hit back. He did not respond to violence with violence. He left you this example that you might follow in his footsteps, says the Apostle Peter. Now, that's as clear as day, and it's completely contrary to everything we hear from these supposedly Christian politicians who call for more and more violence and vengeance and the destruction of people and the murder of men, women, and children. It's completely contrary to the Christian gospel.
Yes, for sure, Father Dave.
That's my opinion.
Yes.
So,
if you are the president of United States, replace Mr. Biden, maybe
yes,
the
please.
Palestine issue will resolve quickly. But in the fact that my friend told me that in the United States now, embedded with the ideology of Christian white supremacy.
Yeah.
They embedded religion. They bring Christianity into politics and justify intervention, colonialism. What do you think about that?
Look, I don't know how much white supremacism is part of the agenda in America now. I think, on the contrary, the woke movement is so powerful now, and the
Superiority, I think.
critical
Superiority.
race theory.
They have
Sorry?
superiority. They have superiority. Superiority of race. White supremacy be embedded with religion, Christian.
Look, I don't know. I'm an Anglican priest, and I can tell you now, the average Anglican today is female and black. You know, so we're not a white man's religion anymore, I can tell you. You know, most Anglicans now are African. And, you know, that's a changing face of the Christian world. But the extent to which white supremacy is still an issue in Western countries, I'm not convinced it's as big an issue as some think it is. I know within critical race theory is been very powerful as part of this whole woke movement and the Black Lives Matter. And I'm not wanting to minimize the history of violence towards so-called people of color from particularly, you know, within America and within this country, my country as well. There's been a terrible history of racism, but the extent to which that's still relevant today, I'm not so sure. It's a big issue. This idea that they've embedded racism embedded within our sort of culture and institutions, the rest of that, I think that's questionable. And I think we've got to be careful about blaming all white people, you know, for the sins of the past any more than we, you know, Hitler blamed all Jews for, you know, whoever. We've got to be very careful about blaming the group.
Because in the
basis,
Father
you know,
Dave,
all Muslims, all Christians, all white people, all black people, all anything. No,
I mean, Father Dave, inside of United States history, they have a problem with racism. They have problem about the black
who's got a
people.
problem with racism?
In United States, between the black and the white.
I'm not in the United States, but and I don't know the feeling on the ground, but I'm not convinced that in this country it's as big a problem as some people think. I don't experience it on a day-to-day basis amongst my friends. Nobody speaks in a racially derogatory way. I have many black and Indigenous friends. I get the feeling, you know, we go back a few years to the big disrupting Wall Street movement that I can't remember what it was called now in the US when everybody was camping out.
Wall Street.
Sorry, what
Wall
was it
Street
called? It was opposing Wall Street. It was saying, you know, that the rich, the 1%, they're destroying the rest of us.
Yes.
I think it was well targeted. I think, in a sense, that's been displaced by a process of scapegoating, saying, no, the real problem is racism, or the real problem is discrimination against the gay and lesbian people, or, you know, this has become the big issue now. And quite frankly, I think, no, we were right before the first time. The real issue is the people with extreme power who will abuse that power.
Abuse
I
of
don't think
power.
I don't think the real problem in my country, I don't know the US, but I don't think so. I don't think the big problem is racism. I don't think the big problem is discrimination against gay and lesbian people. I think the real problem is the abuse of people in power, continuing to abuse those who don't have power.
Well,
And I think that's really what we're
yes,
seeing in
yes.
Israel Palestine at the moment. You think Thucydides, what do you say? The rich do as they will, the poor do as they must.
Okay,
It's
Father.
always been this way.
Maybe it
Occupy
is.
Wall Street. That was the
Yeah,
protest.
occupied Wall
Occupy.
Street. Yes,
Yeah,
Father
and I
Dave.
think that was on target.
Yes, Father Dave. Maybe it is related to the theology because I heard that the Messiah will coming. Yeah, Messiah will coming, and you know that in Islam Mahdi will coming
Yeah,
in the
Mahdi.
before the judgment day, and I think Christian do side by side with the Jews, yeah, in a term of conquering the Masjid Al Aqsa, conquering the sacred place of Jesus where he's born. So, what do you think about this issue?
Sorry about the coming together of Jesus and the Mahdi, and
Yes,
uh,
they yeah side
I
by
don't know.
side, yeah side by side.
I think it's a lovely vision. I
Okay.
mean, I don't know how true that is to our scriptures or exactly what will happen. God knows.
Yes. Okay.
God knows.
What about the Christ or the Christian where in Russia and United States and all over part of the world? What is the difference about two kind of Christianity?
Look, the difference is historical fundamentally. I remember I was in the Orthodox Cathedral in Damascus a couple of years ago for Easter, and I'm ashamed to admit, but I took the sacrament there thinking that was okay, and I was told afterwards, "You should not have done that." I said, "Oh, why
Mm,
not?" And they said, "Because the filioque clause. Believe it or not, the filioque clause, which is Latin for "and the Son," is
mm,
the single key point of doctrinal difference between the Orthodox Church and the Church of the West. So,
mm,
in our creedal formulation, which came out of the Council of Nicaea, which I think goes back to the year 325, is it? Um, there's which hammered out the Christian understanding of Jesus in relation to God and the Spirit of God in relation to God and to Jesus, and the idea that the Spirit of God proceeds from God is not, and the Son is the addition that the Western Church put in Latin filioque, and that technically is what divides the Christian West from the Christian East, from the Orthodox. Now, that might sound extremely trivial. To be honest with you, I think it is extremely trivial. And
mm,
forgive me to my Orthodox friends, I think perhaps the part of the problem was that the Eastern Church wasn't consulted when this creed was put together. So, and there are reasons for disagreeing with it. I don't deny that, but honestly, that should form such a fundamental division between people across the world, I think it's just tragic.
mm.
Likewise, divisions between Catholics and Protestants. If you look at a doctrinal level, my personal opinion is that most of the differences are trivial. I
So,
mean, look at the difference between Sunni and Shia.
mm,
Uh, Doctrinally, on an understanding of God, there really, as my understanding, there's no real fundamental difference. But I appreciate the difference of going back to who was to be Muhammad's proper successor, and I appreciate those are real issues, and other things come out of that. But really, in the end, what binds the Sunni and Shia together is much more than should be,
yeah,
doctrinally speaking.
yes,
Surely, is
yes.
much bigger than what separates them.
After politics coming, I think, in
Well,
Islamic, yes, in the Islamic
and
issue, at
this
least
this is
from
my point about tribalism too. You
yes.
see, because
So
the
Paul,
when you get a group like Daesh or
mm,
the Muslim Brotherhood or any group like this, it's not really the theology. It's tribal identity.
mm,
That being one of us, one of them. That uses points of doctrine to create division, and
mm,
those divisions, when they come to a point of personal identity, become easily fall into violence, discrimination, prejudice of all kinds.
Okay, Father Dave, what is your offer, for resolving Palestine issue due to the work of your book? What is your offer?
I wish I could have an influence, but unfortunately, look, at a human level, we need to move beyond tribalism. If we can move beyond tribalism, then we can isolate the issues without the interference of identity politics, that about us and them. If we can realize that it's us, Christians, Muslims, Jews together trying to resolve this, then I think that will clear the way for a genuine dialogue. In
So,
terms of how that
so
problem could then be solved,
tribalism is inside of human being, but we have to transcend our
we
tribalism.
have to transcend it. Exactly.
Oh, I see.
Exactly. We're never going to, we don't want to deny it. Having a sense of identity is important. Knowing where you belong and who your people are, that's great. The problem comes when I think my people are better than your people. Or my people, like it's and recognizing that, we are different communities, but ultimately in humanity we are one. If we can get to that, then
Okay.
we are on a sort of level where we can have real discussion, look for real solutions.
Okay, we are talking now about Zionism, and the Jews as a religion. What do you think about tribalism issue in this case?
In this case,
Yes,
look, I think,
Zionism and the Jews as a religion.
yeah, I think tribal identity amongst the Jewish people is very strong. And I think that makes sense in terms of their history. And there has been a deliberate history of persecution of Jewish people by Western Christians that goes back thousands of years. And it's terrible and it's tragic. And it's helped those solidify that identity of people, many of whom feel they are always going to be persecuted based on that history.
Because
I think also, I
Father,
think Jewish people have very strong ritual.
yes, Father Dave,
I think ritual.
sorry to interrupt you. Because you know that the right wing under the Benjamin Netanyahu and a friends want to demolish Masjid Al-Aqsa and want to build Temple Mount. So this is a religion purpose, and inside of the religion purpose, what do you think? But it is kind of tribalism too.
Yeah, you mean the Al-Aqsa Mosque and the desire to start another temple on the same? Yeah, it's where it's more about tribalism than it is about religion, I think. It's more about, at that level, our temples, our cathedrals, our mosques, they become symbols of, but really they're only places of worship. And what's important ultimately is the people, and the people who worship, and the God they worship. And this is what's, but those other things, they're markers of the pride of our community, of our spiritual community. But again, that's a manifestation of our tribalism. Now, I appreciate, as I say, with the Jewish people, they have very strong rituals, and that creates very strong tribal identity.
Okay.
Perhaps they have the strongest rituals, with the way they eat, with the way they dress, when we're talking Orthodox Jews. And this gives you a very strong sense of tribal identity.
Because yes, Father Dave, when we talking about the issue Hamas attacking innocent people in lately operation Operation Axel Storm, they blame all over the world blame Hamas because they kill innocent people. But in the context of Zionism, the citizen of Israel we cannot say that they are not Zionism. Even though we can say that they are innocent people, but they are aware that they are in illegal, illegal settlement, illegal state. So it is very difficult, very difficult to differentiate between Zionism and Jews per se in this case. What do you think about it?
Oh, no, I think I understand what you're saying. When we're referring to the settler communities, they're often well armed as well.
Yes.
And, the division between them being a paramilitary group and being civilians is often a fine line, I think. having said that, through most of history, we have made some division between civilians and combatants, and the line is never clear. I mean, I think General Tecumseh Sherman from the US Civil War was the first one to introduce the concept of total war in his writing of War Against the Civilian Population, because in his opinion, the war machine as a whole was funded and built and maintained by the broader population, not simply by the soldiers on the front line. And this is why everybody, in a sense, was a combatant. And I appreciate, in some sense, that's obviously true. Nonetheless, through most of history, we've maintained a division between combatants and non-combatants that I think has been very positive. In more recent years, I mean, you go back, you see that the number of civilian casualties used to be far less than in modern wars. In modern wars now, it's civilian casualties are the majority. And that's the nature both of the firepower of the sort of weapons we've developed as much as anything else. But it's also been deliberate targeting of civilians, which really happened beginning of World War II, I think, in the West was when that really started happening, in the Battle of Britain specifically. But it's increasingly become the pattern. So I think if you look World War I, World War II, Vietnam War, etc., the percentage of civilians killed in each war becomes greater and greater as we go forward. And that
Yes,
continues.
yes, Father, it's very difficult to differentiate with the innocent people and combatant here, because if we are talking about tribalism and religion per se, intervene with the political dimension, so we cannot easily to
It's
say
not,
that
yes,
that's wrong, that's right. So we have to clear
it's
our
more
mind,
nuanced.
yeah, broader
It's
thinking
nuanced.
about it, and I think we have to communicate each other, yeah, between two parties, between Israel and Palestine, of course, what they want on behalf of what I say Palestine, or what we say in another dimension of state. Maybe the Israel want to birth what they think about Zion state. I don't know, but the most important thing is dismantling apartheid state, and I hope that this issue regarding the Palestine issue will be resolved soon. Thank you, Father Dave, for your time. I think we can share and dialogue with another issue. Thank you very much.
God bless you, brother. We keep praying together and working together to see justice done and for freedom and for dignity for the Palestinian people and for all people.